A cocky heavyweight champion underestimates an old boxer at a charity gala, shoving a 75-year-old veteran fighter to the ground and mocking the weak fossils who built the sport. The arrogant champion struts around the fallen elder, calling him worthless while his entourage films the humiliation. But the quiet man rising from the corner table isn't just another has-been. This is Mike Tyson, the baddest man on the planet. The champion's laughter dies as Iron Mike helps the veteran up, then turns with those legendary eyes that once terrified a generation of fighters. This punk has no idea he just challenged a man who knocked out grown men while still a teenager, who bit off Evander Holyfield's ear in pure rage, whose very name still makes hardened criminals flinch. The champion accepts the old legend's challenge to settle this in the ring, thinking he'll embarrass another relic for social media clout. His Russian mob backers promise him an easy victory over the 68-year-old icon, even slipping metal strips under his gloves to ensure maximum damage. What happens when modern arrogance meets old-school devastation? Can the champion survive 12 rounds with a man who was destroying souls before he was even born? What happened next would leave the bully broken, bloodied, and begging for mercy through his shattered jaw. Before we jump back and tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The Bellagio's golden ballroom sparkled like a championship belt. Under crystal chandeliers, velvet pedestals displayed the hardware of legends. Ali's gloves, Foreman's robe, Frazier's trunks, each piece a testament to when boxing meant honor. The banner stretched across the stage read, Boxing Legends Charity Gala, supporting injured fighters fund, though half the attendees seemed more interested in the open bar than the cause. Mike Tyson slipped through the side entrance at 8:47 p.m., avoiding the red carpet circus outside. His friend John Russell had saved a corner table, far from the cameras and glad-handers. Mike preferred it that way these days. At 68, he'd made peace with his demons, finding solitude more comfortable than spotlight. Champagne, John offered. Water, Mike replied, his voice still carrying that distinctive lisp. Clear head, clear conscience. The room buzzed with boxing royalty. Larry Holmes worked the crowd near the auction table. Sugar Ray Leonard signed autographs for donors' kids. And there, struggling with his walker near the main table, Willie Banks made his way to greet Ray Mancini. Willie had never won a title, but everyone remembered his wars with Hagler, the kind of fights that left both men different. Chrome flashed outside as a Lamborghini growled to a stop. The valet scrambled as Darius, the destroyer, McKnight, emerged. His WBC heavyweight belt draped over his shoulder like a fur stole. 6 feet 3 inches of sculpted arrogance, dressed in a suit that cost more than most fighters' purses. His entourage spilled out behind him. Manager Jerry Watts, 3 Instagram models, and 2 videographers documenting his every breath. Where's the real champagne? McKnight's voice boomed across the ballroom. Not this charity auction garbage. Dom Perignon. Cristal. Something that doesn't smell like. He sniffed dramatically. Mothballs and Bengay. A few younger attendees laughed. The legends didn't. McKnight strutted through the room like he owned it, his crew filming every moment. Look at this museum, he announced to his phone. Camera. Boxing's nursing home. Half these fossils probably forgot what a punch feels like. Mike sipped his water, watching. John's hand tensed on the table. Easy, Mike murmured. Boys like that burn themselves out. But McKnight wasn't done performing. His eyes locked onto Willie Banks, who stood shakily, trying to properly greet another guest. The old fighter's hands trembled on his walker, not from fear, but from the neurological damage that came with too many wars and too many rings. McKnight's grin widened. He whispered something to his entourage. The cameras turned toward Willie. Yo, Jerry, McKnight said loud enough for tables to hear. They letting anybody in here now? Even the ones who can't stand? Willie tried to straighten his shoulders, maintaining the dignity that had carried him through 12 rounds with Marvin Hagler. His wife had pressed his one good suit. He'd polished his shoes himself, though it took him an hour with the shaking. McKnight started walking toward Willie's table, his entourage trailing like hyenas scenting weakness. The ballroom's warmth suddenly felt cold. Conversations died as heads turned to watch. Mike Tyson set down his water glass, the soft clink somehow audible across the silent room. His eyes never left McKnight as the younger champion approached. Willie Banks, ready to turn respect into spectacle. McKnight reached Willie's table where the old boxer sat with Bobby Watts and Ray Mancini, men who'd bled for the sport when it meant something. Willie gripped his walker, attempting to stand as the heavyweight champion approached. Respect was automatic for his generation, even for those who didn't deserve it. No, no, please don't get up, McKnight said with mock concern. Wouldn't want you breaking a hip, Grandpa shakes. Willie's hands trembled more noticeably as he extended one for a handshake. Congratulations on your title, young man. McKnight looked at the shaking hand like it carried disease. At the last second, he pulled his own away, leaving Willie grasping air. The momentum shift threw the old fighter off balance. His walker scraped against the marble floor as he tried to steady himself. Oops, McKnight said, his foot, accidentally, kicking the walker just out of reach. Butterfingers. Willie Banks crashed hard. His hip hit the marble with a sound that made everyone wince. His head followed, though Bobby Watts managed to cushion it partially with his hand. Willie groaned, the sound carrying pain and decades of accumulated damage. See, McKnight announced to his cameras. This is why boxing needs age limits. These relics can't even stand, let alone fight. How you gonna throw hands when you need a walker, old man? The Instagram models giggled nervously. Jerry Watts looked uncomfortable but said nothing. The videographers kept filming, already calculating the viral views. Ray Mancini knelt beside Willie. Get help, he snapped at a waiter who stood frozen. Then, to McKnight, you piece of what? McKnight spread his arms wide. I'm supposed to pretend this is normal? Look at him. Look at all of you. Hanging around like ghosts, telling stories about when you mattered. Newsflash, nobody cares. About your glory days. Willie tried to speak through the pain. My grandson, Marcus, he watched. All your fights. Yeah? Well, tell Marcus his grandpa should have stayed home playing checkers instead of. A chair scraped against marble. The sound cut through McKnight's performance like a referee's whistle. In the corner, Mike Tyson rose from his table. John Russell placed a restraining hand on his shoulder. Not here, Mike. Too many cameras. Mike shrugged off the hand with the same motion that had shed countless clinches. He walked toward the scene with that distinctive, slightly pigeon-toed gait that had carried him to 50 wins and 37 knockouts. The room held its breath. Waiters stopped mid-pour. Sugar Ray Leonard took an unconscious step forward. Even McKnight's entourage lowered their phones. Mike didn't hurry. Each step was measured, deliberate. His black shirt stretched across shoulders that still carried sledgehammer power. His eyes never left McKnight, who suddenly seemed less sure of his audience. When Mike reached Willie, he knelt slowly. His hands, the same hands that had dropped Trevor Berbick, Larry Holmes, and Michael Spinks, gently checked the old fighter's hip and head. You hurting bad, Willie? Mike's voice was soft, almost tender. I'm okay, Mike. Just my walker. Mike looked up at McKnight, who stood directly over them, still playing to his crew, but with less enthusiasm. The height difference was obvious, McKnight towering over Tyson's kneeling form. You need to help him up properly, Mike said, not a request but a statement of fact. The ballroom waited for what would happen next. McKnight's laugh echoed off the ballroom's golden walls. He recognized that voice, the lisp, the quiet menace underneath. His eyes lit up with cruel delight. Iron Mike. He turned to his cameras. Y'all seeing this? Mike Tyson in the flesh. Or what's left of him. He looked down at the kneeling legend. Shouldn't you be at home taking your arthritis medication? Maybe doing another one of those sad podcasts where you cry about your feelings? Tyson continued helping Willie into a chair, checking the old fighter's pupils for signs of concussion. His movements were careful, practiced. He'd seen too many fighters ignore head injuries until it was too late. I said. Tyson repeated without looking up, help him up. Or what? McKnight stepped closer, his shadow falling across both older men. You'll bite my ear off? Face it, Tyson, your time is over. You're nothing but a carnival sideshow now. A meme. What was that exhibition with Roy Jones? Two grandpas hugging for 8 rounds. Jerry Watts materialized at McKnight's elbow. Darius, we should go. ESPN tomorrow, remember? McKnight shrugged him off. The crowd was too good, the moment too perfect. Every phone in the room was recording. This would trend for weeks. Tyson finally stood, turning to face McKnight. The height difference was stark, the heavyweight champion towering over Tyson's 5'10" frame. But something in Mike's posture made the space between them crackle. With electricity. Up close, McKnight could see the scar tissue around Tyson's eyes, the gray in his beard, the lines that mapped a lifetime of wars. But the eyes themselves hadn't aged. They still held that predator's focus that had terrified a generation. "You think you're special," Tyson said quietly. "Every young fighter does. Until they meet someone who's been where they're going." "Been where I'm going?" McKnight laughed again, but it sounded forced. "Old man, I'm undefeated. 27 and, 14 knockouts. I am where you never got to stay." "You're right," Tyson said. "I lost. Got knocked down. Knocked out. Went to prison. Lost everything." He stepped closer, eliminating the height advantage through sheer presence. "But I'm still here. And you? You're just another boy who thinks hurting old men makes him strong." The room seemed to lean in. Even McKnight's crew had stopped filming, caught in the moment's gravity. "You want to prove you're better than us relics?" Tyson's voice carried across the silent ballroom. "Get in the ring with me. Unless you're scared of a carnival sideshow." McKnight's smirk wavered for exactly one heartbeat. His manager grabbed his arm. "Darius, no? This is stupid. You have obligations. Scared?" McKnight's ego overrode every warning bell in his head. Of him, he gestured at Tyson like he was pointing out garbage. "You know what? Yeah, let's do it. Let's give Grandpa one last moment in the spotlight before I send him to the retirement home permanently." Tom Brennan, the event organizer, rushed over. "Gentlemen, please. This is a charity event. We're here to help injured fighters, not create more." "Perfect," Tyson interrupted. "Make it a charity exhibition. All proceeds to the Injured Fighters Fund. Unless," he looked at McKnight, "you only fight for money." McKnight's jaw clenched. "Real boxing. Not some scripted wrestling match. I want everyone to see what happens when yesterday meets today." They shook hands. McKnight tried to crush Tyson's grip. Mike's hand felt like iron wrapped in leather, unchanged by time. As the room exploded in chaos, phones calling promoters, reporters rushing for statements, Willie Banks caught Tyson's wrist with surprising strength. "Mike," he whispered hoarsely. "That boy, he's the one. Marcus, my grandson. He ended his career." The Brooklyn diner hummed with morning life. Construction workers grabbed coffee before sunrise shifts. Nurses headed home from night duty, picked at eggs. Mike Tyson sat in a corner booth, the New York Post spread before him. "Tyson versus McKnight. Legend accepts Destroyer's challenge," screamed across the sports page. John Russell slid into the opposite seat. "Every news outlet in the world wants a statement." "Let them want," Mike said, turning the page. The bell above the door chimed. Willie Banks entered slowly, supported by his daughter Cheryl. She was mid-40s, steel in her spine despite exhaustion in her eyes. They made their way to Mike's booth. "Mr. Tyson," Cheryl said, "thank you for seeing us." "Just Mike," he said, standing to help them sit. "How's the hip?" "Bruised," Willie said. "Had worse." "Cheryl, show him." She pulled out a tablet, fingers flying across the screen. This was Marcus's last fight. 3 months ago. The video loaded. Marcus Banks, lean and technical, was dominating his opponent with crisp combinations. The bell rang to end the round. Both fighters headed to their corners. Then McKnight, the opponent, spun suddenly, his elbow whipping around in a vicious arc. It caught Marcus behind the ear. The young fighter's legs went out like someone had cut his strings. "Watch McKnight's corner," Cheryl said, rewinding. "Right before he throws it." Mike leaned in. McKnight's trainer made a small circular motion with his hand. A signal. "The commission ruled it accidental," Cheryl continued. Momentum from turning to his corner. "But my friend Sarah, she's a ring girl. She heard McKnight laughing about it after. Said." Her voice caught. "Said Marcus was example number 3. 3? Mike asked. Willie pulled out a folder. Jose Mendoza, paralyzed from the waist down. Accidental head clash. Deshaun Williams, career-ending orbital fracture. Accidental thumb to the eye. Both were rising stars. Both had turned down offers to take dives. Mike studied the medical reports. "Your grandson, will he walk again?" Cheryl's composure cracked. "The doctors say yes. With surgery. Experimental procedure to repair the nerve damage. Insurance calls it elective. $200,000. She laughed bitterly. "Might as well be $2 million. Mike watched the video again. Marcus Banks had been special, the kind of technical precision that couldn't be taught, only refined. In the replay, his eyes were clear and focused until that elbow arrived. Now those same eyes stared from a hospital photo, vacant and struggling. McKnight's connected, Willie added. Big money behind him. Betting syndicates. They say no, you fight hurt. You fight anyway. You end up like Marcus. Who's they? Mike asked. Russians, mostly. Man named Volkov. Owns fighters like cattle. McKnight's his prize bull. Mike stood, leaving $100 bill next to his untouched coffee. Your grandson will walk again. And box if he wants. I promise you that. Mr. Tyson, Cheryl called after him. Why? Why risk this for us? Mike paused at the door. Because someone has to remind them what boxing used to be, before it became about everything except boxing. As he walked into the Brooklyn morning, Mike's phone buzzed. Freddie Roach's name appeared. You serious about this fight? His old trainer asked without preamble. Yeah. Then get to the gym. We got work to do. And Mike? That boy McKnight. He's dirty as they come. I know, Mike said, watching the sunrise paint Brooklyn gold. That's why it has to be me. Jerry Watt's office reeked of Cuban cigars and nervous sweat. The space screamed. New money, leather furniture trying too hard, gold records from rappers nobody remembered, a view of Manhattan that cost more than most people's homes. McKnight sprawled across a couch, getting his neck tattoo touched up while lawyers shuffled papers. Exhibition match. 8 rounds, standard boxing rules, the lead attorney read. McKnight waved him off. Change it. 12 rounds. Darius. That's not. And add something about modified rules for fighter safety. Bigger gloves, longer breaks between rounds. McKnight grinned at his reflection in his phone. Tell them it's to protect the old man. Vincent Cruz, the slickest lawyer money could buy, raised an eyebrow. Bigger gloves actually favor you. More padding means you can throw harder without breaking your hands. Exactly. And longer breaks mean Tyson stiffens up between rounds. Old muscles don't recover like young ones. McKnight sat up, pushing the tattoo artist away. Also add a clause about replacing the referee if needed. Safety reasons. You already have someone in mind. Tony Moretti. He reffed my last 3 fights. McKnight's smile turned predatory. He knows who pays his mortgage. Jerry Watts paced by. The window. This is getting complicated. Volkov won't like. Volkov will love it. McKnight cut him off. A public execution of Mike Tyson? That's worth millions in future fixes. Every young fighter will fall in line after they see what I do to their hero. The lawyers exchanged glances but kept writing. They'd learned not to question where McKnight's money came from or why certain officials always worked his fights. One more thing, McKnight added. Make sure the medical staff is ours too. When I drop him, I want a slow count and slower response. Let the world see him laying there, finished. That's attempted murder, Cruz said quietly. McKnight stood, his 6'3" frame filling the room. That's boxing. Winners and losers. Predators and prey. He grabbed the contract. Where do I sign? After the lawyers left, McKnight made a call. The phone rang twice. Yeah, it's set, he said. The old man took the bait. The voice on the other end spoke in accented English. McKnight's arrogance dimmed slightly. No, I get it. Your boss wants a show. He'll get one. McKnight walked to the window, looking down at the ants below. I'm going to hurt him bad. Real bad. Make an example that echoes. He listened, then laughed. Volkov doesn't need to threaten me. I want this. Tyson represents everything that needs to die in boxing. The old guard. They honor bullshit. After I'm done with him, boxing belongs to us. McKnight hung up and stared at his championship belt. In its polished gold surface, his reflection looked distorted, monstrous. Iron Mike, he said to the empty room. Rusty Mike. Dead Mike. He shadowboxed his reflection, each punch thrown with malicious intent. Tomorrow, the contracts would be signed. In 6 weeks, he'd end a legend. The city lights sparkled below, indifferent to the violence being planned above them. The back room of Kozlov's restaurant in Brighton Beach might as well have been Moscow. Red velvet curtains, orthodox icons, and the smell of cigarettes that ignored New York's smoking ban. Viktor Volkov sat behind a desk older than McKnight, watching fight footage on multiple screens. Tell me about the betting lines, Volkov said in English that carried winters in Siberia. Dmitri, thin where Volkov was thick, pulled out a tablet. McKnight opens as a 12-1 favorite. But emotional money will come in on Tyson. Old Americans love their heroes. Good. We let them bet their hearts. Then we take their money. Volkov lit a cigarette, the flame reflecting in cold gray eyes. Show me McKnight's accidents again. The screen switched to compilation footage. Jose Mendoza taking a head clash that looked almost choreographed. Deshaun Williams screaming as a stray thumb found his eye socket. Marcus Banks crumpling from the spinning elbow. Effective, Volkov admitted, but obvious to anyone who looks. No one looks, Dmitry said. Commission is ours. Judges are ours. Media tells whatever story we write. Volkov stood, moving to a wall covered in photos. Fighters, officials, journalists. His network mapped out like a military campaign. At the center, a photo of McKnight holding his belt. This Tyson fight is not about money, Volkov said. It's about fear. Every young fighter watches their hero get destroyed. They understand. You work with us or you end up like him. McKnight understands. He's eager to. McKnight is American boy playing Russian games. Volkov's scarred knuckles cracked. Useful but unstable. Cocaine makes him brave and stupid. Dmitry shifted uncomfortably. He's delivered everything we asked. Duh. But after Tyson, we maybe need new champion. Hungrier. Less. Volkov searched for the word, complicated. A knock interrupted. Two men entered, dragging a third between them. The bloody man was a boxing judge who'd recently started asking questions about scorecards. Volkov sighed like a disappointed father. Judge Morrison, you were paid well to count punches our way. Now FBI visits your home. I didn't tell them anything. Morrison gasped through broken teeth. Not yet. Volkov pulled Morrison's family photo from his pocket. Pretty daughters. Columbia University, yes? Expensive school. Dangerous subway at night. Morrison sobbed. The sound disgusted Volkov more than the blood. Clean this up, he told his men. Put him in hospital. Mugging gone wrong. Let others see what happens to honest men. After they dragged Morrison out, Volkov returned to the screens. Mike Tyson's greatest knockouts played on loop. Berbick spinning like a drunk. Dancer, Spinks frozen in fear, Holmes crumbling. Different times, Dmitry offered. Tyson is old now. Volkov pulled out a new photo, FBI agent Jennifer Cortez. This one has been asking about our operations. After Tyson fight, we deal with her. But first, he lit Cortez's photo on fire, dropping it into an ashtray where Morrison's family photo already smoldered. First, we remind world that breaking legends is excellent business. 5 a.m. in Gleason's gym, and the heavy bag was already sweating. Mike Tyson's fists found rhythm. Thud, thud, crack. The same combinations that had terrified heavyweights for decades. His body moved on memory, each punch thrown from the legs up. Looking sharp for an old carnival sideshow, Freddie Roach called out, setting down equipment. Mike grinned, never breaking rhythm. Body remembers what the mind forgets. They'd agreed to meet early, before the gym filled with young fighters and phones. Freddie had driven from wild card boxing at 3 a.m., something he hadn't done for any fighter in years. Let me see your hands, Freddie said. Mike held them out. The knuckles were scarred landscapes, but the swelling was minimal. Freddie nodded approval. McKnight's got 3 inches in height, 5 in reach, Freddie said, wrapping Mike's hands. But he drops his left after throwing the right cross. Every time. Saw that. Mike grunted, working the speed back. The rhythm was hypnotic. Dat 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 dee dat 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 deity. He's dirty, Mike. Those weren't accidents. I know. Volkov's people will have the ref, probably the judges. This won't be a fair fight. Never expected fair. Mike's combinations. Blurred. Fair is for lawyers. This is boxing. By 7 a.m., young amateurs started filtering in. They tried not to stare as Tyson sparred with a hungry light heavyweight named Jerome. The kid came out aggressive, trying to make a name. Mike let him work, studying his rhythm. Then, the left hook came from nowhere. Jerome's mouthpiece flew across the ring as he dropped to one knee. Not hurt, just shocked. You telegraph with your shoulder. Mike helped him up. Here, let me show you. For the next hour, Mike taught. The young fighters gathered around, absorbing lessons from prehistory. How to throw hooks from your shoes. Why the jab was a conversation, not a statement. The difference between hurting and harming. Across town, McKnight's training was pure theater. Cameras rolled as he hit pads held by a trainer who might as well have been choreographing a dance. Between combinations, McKnight flexed and talked trash. Day one of ending Mike Tyson, he announced to Instagram. Look at this power. This speed. Grandpa won't know what hit him. He posted a video of him sparring, really just beating up a paid opponent who covered up and took punishment. The comments poured in from fans who couldn't tell the difference between fighting and performing. Back at Gleason's, Mike worked in solitude. Footwork drills that looked simple but required perfect balance. Defensive moves that had saved him from killers half McKnight's age. No cameras, no commentary. Just work. You're sharper than I expected, Freddie admitted during a water break. Been sharp, Mike said. Just been choosing not to use it. Why now? Really? Mike looked across the gym where someone had hung a photo of Marcus Banks from his last win. Young, proud, skilled. Before McKnight ended it all. Because everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, Mike said. McKnight's plan is to hurt people who can't hurt him back. He hit the heavy bag with a right hand that made the chain scream. Time he learned what the punch tastes like. Sunlight painted Gleason's gym gold as Mike Tyson re-wrapped his hands. 6 a.m. had become 5, then 4. Sleep was for the weak, and the weak didn't survive McKnight's world. His phone buzzed, a video from McKnight's Instagram. The younger fighter punched a heavy bag with Tyson's photo taped to it. The bag split, sand spilling like blood. Day 12, putting the old dog to sleep, McKnight laughed. Someone call the nursing home. Tell them to prep a bed. Mike deleted it without watching to the end. Noise was just noise. You're overtraining, Freddie warned, watching Mike attack the double-end bag. Leave something for the fight. I got plenty left, Mike said between combinations. The gym door opened. Deshaun, the young prospect from Chapter 9, entered tentatively. His eye was still black from their sparring session. Mr. Tyson? Could you show me that counter again? The one that dropped me? Mike smiled. Come here, kid. Across Brooklyn, McKnight's penthouse looked like a pharmacy had exploded. Pills for sleep, pills for energy, powder for confidence. His trainer, Big Roy Stevens, watched nervously as McKnight mixed pre-workout with something that definitely wasn't FDA approved. You need to actually train, Big Roy said. Tyson's looking sharp. Tyson's looking old. McKnight shadowboxed his reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows. I've got youth. I've got power. I've got Volkov's connections. What's he got? Experience. Ring IQ. The kind of power that don't age. McKnight laughed, high and manic. Power? Roy, I bench press 350. My sparring partners wear body armor. I hit harder than God's disappointment. That ain't the kind of power I'm talking about. But McKnight had already turned up the music, drowning out wisdom with bass. Back at Gleason's, Mike worked the mitt with Freddie. The combinations flowed like violent poetry, peak boot defense flowing into devastating counters. His body might be 68, but his timing was eternal. There, Freddie said as Mike landed a perfect left hook. That's the punch. When he drops that right hand, you put him to sleep with that. Young fighters gathered to watch. Word had spread through Brooklyn's boxing community. Iron Mike was back, and he was hunting. Mr. Tyson, one teenager asked, what if McKnight fights dirty? Everyone knows he cheats. Mike paused, considering. Dirty is just another word for desperate. When a man fights dirty, he's telling you he already lost. His phone rang. Marcus Banks' number. Marcus. Mike answered. Through damaged vocal cords, Marcus managed. Watching your videos. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're walking. As night fell, both camps prepared for war. In his penthouse, McKnight partied with models and yes men. Cocaine confidence convincing him he was invincible. His corner man slipped weighted strips into his gym bag, just in case. In Brooklyn, Mike Tyson sat alone in the empty gym. He stared at his wrapped hands, seeing decades of violence in the scars. Tomorrow would bring more violence. But this time, it would mean something. Everyone has a plan, he whispered to the darkness. His shadow on the wall looked 20 years younger, ready for war. The morning sun caught the sweat on young fighters' faces as they whispered in Gleason's gym. Mike Tyson worked the heavy bag with methodical precision, each punch a lesson in controlled violence. The gathering crowd pretended to train while stealing glances at history in motion. Yo, you really Iron Mike? Deshaun, the cocky prospect from the neighborhood, stepped forward. My pops said you were the baddest man alive. Said you made grown men cry. Mike paused, studying the kid. 22, maybe 23. Hungry eyes, quick hands, too much confidence. The kind that needed humbling before the streets did it permanent. Your pops was right, Mike said simply. Want to find out why? Deshaun's boys pushed him forward, phones already recording. Hell yeah. I'ma tell everyone I sparred Mike Tyson. Maybe even dropped him. The old heads in the gym shook their heads. They'd seen this movie before. In the ring, Deshaun came out firing. His jab was sharp, footwork decent. He'd been trained, just not tested. He landed a few shots on Mike's guard, grinning as his boys cheered. That's right, OG. I got that young speed. That next generation power. Mike weathered the storm, reading rhythms. Deshaun threw a lazy jab, dropped his left hand for just a second. Mike's counter left hook hit him in the floating ribs. The air left Deshaun's lungs in a whoosh. His legs buckled. Speed don't matter when you can't breathe, Mike said, helping him up. Instead of humiliation, Mike spent the next hour teaching how to hide the hook behind a jab, why body shots ended more fights than head shots, the difference between movement and motion. The crowd grew. Old-timers who'd watched Mike's rise and fall and rise again. Young fighters hungry for knowledge. By noon, 40 people packed the gym. Why you helping us? Deshaun asked during a water break, humility replacing cockiness. Because someone helped me once, Mike said. 'Cause D'Amato took an angry kid and showed him boxing was chess, not checkers. Now McKnight and his people, they're trying to turn it back to checkers. Can't let that happen. ESPN's Jackie Martinez arrived with a small crew. Mike, can we get a quick interview? No cameras in my gym, Mike said. But you can ask questions. How do you respond to McKnight calling you a has-been? He says you're just chasing one last payday. Mike's laugh was dark honey. McKnight thinks this is about money. That tells you everything about him and nothing about me. He's posted videos showing his training. Says he'll knock you out in 3 rounds. Everyone has a plan, until they get punched in the mouth, Jackie finished, smiling. But seriously, Mike, you're 68. He's 28. How do you overcome that gap? Mike looked around the gym at fighters spanning generations. You see gaps. I see experience. He sees an old man. I see a young fool. He sees a payday. I see a debt that needs collecting. As Jackie left, Deshaun approached one more time. Mr. Tyson, when you fight him, hurt him for all of us. Show him what real boxing looks like. Mike nodded, then returned to the heavy bag. Each punch echoed through the gym like thunder promising storm. McKnight's penthouse looked like a crime scene decorated by Versace. Empty champagne bottles littered Italian marble. Designer clothes lay crumpled next to worse decisions. The heavyweight champion sat on his $50,000 couch, counting money while getting a massage. Betting lines moved. Jerry Watts announced, bursting through the door. Tyson's down to 8-1. Serious money coming in on the old man. So, McKnight waved dismissively. Let the nostalgic fools waste their cash. Probably the same idiots who bet on Roy Jones to beat me if he was 30 years younger. His phone rang. The massage therapists were dismissed with a gesture. Yeah? McKnight answered. You sound tired. Viktor Volkov's voice could freeze vodka. Partying instead of training? I'm in perfect shape. You're in perfect shape to disappoint me. And you know what happens to disappointments. The line went dead. McKnight's hands trembled as he set down the phone. Jerry noticed. Just pre-fight hype, McKnight said, more to himself. I'm the champion. I run this. The door opened again. No knock. Dimitri entered with 4 men who looked like they broke bones recreationally. McKnight stood, trying to project strength he didn't feel. Mr. Volkov wants to ensure you understand the stakes, Dimitri said pleasantly. This is not just about winning. I know what. Dimitri's hand moved faster than McKnight's eyes could follow. The slap echoed like a gunshot. McKnight tasted blood. You know nothing. You're a child playing with adult toys. Dimitri pulled out his phone, showing security footage. This is you, snorting cocaine off a prostitute's stomach last night. This is you, passed out at 5 a.m. when Tyson was already training. McKnight's jaw clenched. Get out of my house. 2 of Volkov's men grabbed McKnight's arms. He struggled, his strength useless against their experience. Dimitri pulled out a cigar, lighting it slowly. You forget who owns you, Dimitri said. Your belt? Ours. Your cars? Ours. Your life? He brought the cigar close to McKnight's eye. Very much ours. McKnight felt heat on his eyelashes. Okay, okay, I get it. Do you? The cigar moved closer. Because Mr. Volkov thinks you need reminder. You don't just beat Tyson. You end him. Break him so badly that his name becomes. Warning. Every fighter who thinks about refusing us remembers what happened to Iron Mike. I'll destroy him. I promise. Promises from addicts are worthless. Dmitri stepped back, his men releasing McKnight. Double your steroid cycle. Use the weighted gloves. Do whatever necessary. But if you merely win instead of demolish. He didn't finish the threat. Didn't need to. After they left, McKnight stared at his reflection in his television. His cheek was already swelling from Dimitri's slap. His championship belt sat on the coffee table, looking more like a collar than a crown. I'll kill him, McKnight whispered. To his reflection, I'll fucking kill Mike Tyson. Jerry Watts said nothing. He'd learned silence was the only safe response in Volkov's world. But privately, he wondered if McKnight understood that Volkov's threats weren't metaphorical. The champion called his conditioning coach. Double everything. And get me those gloves from Detroit. The special ones. Outside, Brooklyn sprawled indifferent to the violence being planned 40 floors above. The neurological ward at Mount Sinai Hospital smelled like disinfectant and fading hope. Mike Tyson walked the sterile hallways carrying a teddy bear that looked tiny in his hands. Room 314. Marcus Banks. The young fighter lay surrounded by machines. His eyes tracked Mike's entrance, alert despite the drugs. A tablet lay across his lap, his one functioning hand ready to type. Brought you something? Mike said, setting the bear on the nightstand. Figured you could use a sparring partner who won't hit back. Marcus's face contorted with effort. His mouth worked, fighting through damaged neural pathways. Thank you. Save your strength, Mike. Pulled up a chair. I got time. Marcus typed on his tablet, showing Mike the screen. Watch the videos every day. You and Ollie and Sugar Ray. Studying. Good. Boxing's as much mental as physical. Maybe more. Marcus typed again, faster now. McKnight came here. 2 weeks ago. Mike's eyes narrowed. What did he want? To gloat. Said I was message to others. 3 down, more coming. Laughed about it. Mike's hands clenched. In his prime, that would have meant someone's death. Now it meant patience. He recorded it. Marcus continued typing. Nurse saved security footage. But cops won't do anything. Said no crime in visiting. Show me. Marcus's girlfriend, Jasmine, had been sitting quietly in the corner. She pulled out her phone, finding the footage. McKnight standing over Marcus's bed, mimicking his paralyzed movements, laughing as he described the accident in detail. I keep the good stuff here, McKnight said in the video, tapping his elbow. 3 inches of titanium they put in after I broke it. Makes a nice weapon when the ref ain't looking. Mike watched it twice, memorizing every word. He's evil, Jasmine said quietly. Pure evil. No, Mike corrected. Evil takes strength. He's just empty. Marcus grabbed Mike's wrist with his good hand. The effort cost him, but his grip was fighter strong. He spoke aloud, each word a battle. Break him. For us. Planning on it. No. Marcus squeezed harder. Break him. Not just beat. Break everything. Mike understood. This wasn't about boxing anymore. This was about justice the ring could provide when the system couldn't. A nurse entered. Visiting hours RO. Mr. Tyson. Her professional composure cracked. My father watched all your fights. Said you were the last honest champion. Your father sounds wise, Mike said, standing. Marcus, I'll be back after the fight. Walking, hear me? Both of us walking out. Of here. In the elevator, Mike called an old contact. Remember that FBI agent who interviewed me about Don King? Yeah, her. I need her number. The hospital parking garage was empty except for shadows and regrets. Mike sat in his car, watching the security footage again. McKnight's laugh echoed off concrete. Everyone thinks they're a warrior, Mike said to himself. Until they meet one. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Tyson, this is Agent Cortez. I understand you have information about Viktor Volkov's organization. We should meet. Mike typed back, after I handle McKnight. Then we talk. Be careful. These aren't street criminals. They're organized. Dangerous. Mike looked at his hands. 68 years old, but still weapons. So am I, he typed, then drove. Into the Brooklyn night. Madison Square Garden's media room buzzed with electricity. 300 reporters, 50 cameras, and two fighters who wanted each other dead. The press conference stage was set like a prize fight. McKnight's side draped in gold and excess. Tyson sparse as a monastery. McKnight arrived 30 minutes late in a custom suit covered with images of his knockouts. Each fallen opponent's face was embroidered in gold thread. The message was clear: "You're next, old man." "Sorry I'm late." McKnight grabbed the microphone. "Had to count my money. Takes longer when you're actually making it instead of reminiscing about when you did." Nervous laughter from his entourage. Silence from everyone else. Mike entered, through a side door, wearing a simple black polo and jeans. No entourage, no fanfare. Just Freddie Roach and John Russell. The contrast was stark. McKnight's circus versus Tyson's focus. "Let's get started," the moderator said. "Questions for the champion?" "Yeah," a reporter called out. "Darius, Mike." Tyson knocked out men half your age when he was past 40. "Are you concerned about his power?" McKnight laughed. "Concerned? Look at him. He's wearing orthopedic shoes. Probably got his AARP card in his wallet. I'm concerned he might break a hip walking to the ring." He stood, opening his suit jacket. "You see this body? 240 of twisted steel. I hit harder than anyone in heavyweight history. Ask Marcus. Thanks. Oh wait, you can't. He can't talk no more." Gasps rippled through the room. Even hardened boxing reporters seemed shocked by the casual cruelty. "That's enough," the moderator warned. "No, let him talk," Mike said quietly. "Let everyone hear who he really is." McKnight turned on Tyson. "Who I am? I'm the future, Grandpa. I'm what boxing becomes when it stops pretending to be noble. Your rape conviction. Your bankruptcy. Biting Holyfield's ear like a rabid dog. You want to talk about who people really are?" Mike's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed level. "I did my time. Paid my debts. What about yours?" "My debts." McKnight pulled out his phone. "I got your career highlights right here. Let's see. Assault convictions, drug problems, mental breakdowns. This isn't boxing, folks. This is assisted suicide. I'm putting a sick animal out of its misery." The room held its breath. McKnight had crossed every line, broken every protocol. This was no longer promotion, it was degradation. Mike stood slowly. The microphone looked fragile in his hands. "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth," he said simply. "That's it." McKnight mocked. "That's your big response? A 30-year-old quote? 8 words. That's all you deserve." They were called for the face-off. As they met at center stage, McKnight towered over Tyson, talking nonstop. "I'ma end you, old man. End your legacy. End your—" He shoved Mike hard with both hands. Mike didn't move. Not an inch. His legs, thick as tree trunks, absorbed the force. He leaned in close, whispering something that made McKnight's eyes widen. "What did you say?" McKnight snarled. Mike stepped back, his eyes holding that old darkness. The predator was awake. Security swarmed between them. The room erupted. In the chaos, audio techs enhanced their recordings, catching Tyson's whispered words. "I know what you did to those boys. Your plan is about to meet God's punishment." As Mike walked off stage, a reporter shouted, "Mike, any last words?" Tyson paused at the exit. "Yeah, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. His plan ends in 6 weeks." The door closed behind him like a coffin lid. 10 p.m. at Gleason's gym. The lights were cut, darkness swallowing everything except the exit sign's red glow. Mike Tyson worked the speed bag by feel alone, the rhythm, meditative in blackness. Then the main door creaked open. "Gym's closed." Mike called out, never breaking rhythm. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Heavy boots on worn wood. Mike's hands stilled. His body shifted, weight balanced on the balls of his feet. Prison had taught him to fight in darkness. The streets before that. "Nothing personal, Mr. Tyson." The voice was Russian, cultured. "Just business." Emergency lighting flickered on. 6 men spread in a semicircle. Dmitri stood at their center, looking apologetic. The others carried pipes, brass knuckles gleaming in the half-light. "Volkov wants insurance," Dmitri explained. "A small injury. Nothing permanent. Just enough to affect the fight." Mike rolled his shoulders. 6 of you. That's almost enough." Dmitri smiled. "Please. You're 68 years old. Be reasonable. 1 knee." maybe some ribs. You can still fight, just not well. Everyone saves face. Counteroffer, Mike said. You walk out. I forget this happened. Nobody bleeds. I'm afraid that's not. Mike moved. Not like an old man. Like muscle memory given form. The first attacker swung a pipe at his knee. Mike stepped inside the arc, his elbow finding the man's temple. Down. The second came from behind. Mike dropped low, sweeping the leg while driving his fist into the attacker's groin. The scream echoed off the walls. Brass knuckles whistled past his ear. Mike trapped the arm, using the attacker's momentum to drive him face first into the heavy bag. The nose broke with a wet crack. 3 down in 5 seconds. The remaining 2 hesitated. That hesitation cost them. Mike grabbed a medicine ball, hurling it into one's solar plexus. As the man doubled over, Mike's uppercut sent him spinning into the ring ropes. The 5th man actually landed a shot, a glancing blow to Mike's ribs. Mike ate it, trapped the arm, and introduced the man's elbow to directions it wasn't meant to bend. Dmitri remained, pulling a knife. Impressive, but I was Spetsnaz before I was criminal. He moved with trained precision. Mike gave ground, watching the blade. Dmitri feinted left, went right. Mike read it, caught the wrist, and squeezed. Bones ground together. The knife clattered away. Mike's free hand found Dmitri's throat. Not squeezing yet, just holding. A promise. Tell Volkov I'll see him after I'm done with his boy, Mike growled. And if you come near me again, I'll show you why they used to call me the baddest man on the planet. He released Dmitri, who gasped. This changes nothing. The fight is still fixed. The referee, the judges. I don't need judges, Mike said. Won't go that far. Dmitri gathered his broken men. As they limped out, he turned back. You can't knock out time, Mr. Tyson. You're old. McKnight is young. That's the only math that matters. After they left, Mike returned to the speed bag. In the darkness, Freddie Roach emerged from the office holding a shotgun. Called the cops? Freddie asked. No. Let them think I'm just an old man. They'll learn different in the ring. The speed bag sang its rhythm. Somewhere in Brooklyn, 6 hard men were explaining to Viktor Volkov how one old boxer had destroyed them all. FBI Special Agent Jennifer Cortez sat in Mike Tyson's Brooklyn apartment, her jacket concealing a service weapon and 3 years of frustration. The coffee table between them held photographs, documents, and the weight of systematic corruption. We've been building this case since 2022, she said, spreading out surveillance photos. Viktor Volkov, former Russian military, current head of the largest sports fixing syndicate on the East Coast. Mike studied the images. Volkov at fights, always in the shadows. McKnight receiving envelopes. Judges taking briefcases. Started. With hockey, Cortez continued. Moved to basketball. Now boxing's his crown jewel. We estimate he's fixed over 200 fights. Why not arrest him? Evidence obtained illegally. Witnesses who disappear or develop amnesia. Judges on his payroll. She pulled out a tablet. Listen to this. McKnight's voice filled the room. Yeah, the Banks kid is done. Volkov wanted him crippled. He's crippled. 3 down, maybe 10 more before everyone gets the message. Wiretap? Mike asked. Thrown out. Judge ruled it was obtained without proper warrant. Same judge who bought a new house right after. Cortez's frustration showed. We need someone to flip. Or we need a confession obtained legally, in public, on record. Mike understood. The fight. McKnight's unstable. Cocaine, steroids. Ego. When he's hurt, physically hurt, he talks. We've seen it in his corner between rounds. Pain makes him verbose. You want me to hurt him into confessing. I want you to do what you do naturally. Fight. If McKnight happens to say things, while concussed or angry, she shrugged. That's admissible. Mike stood, walking to his window. Brooklyn sprawled below, indifferent to the crimes planned in its shadows. There's more, Cortez said. 3 young fighters in wheelchairs. 2 more with career-ending injuries. All refused to throw fights. All had accidents against Volkov's. Stable. I know about them. Do you know about the ones who didn't make it? Tommy Rodriguez, promising lightweight. Refused to take a dive. Found in his apartment, suicide. Miguel Santos, wouldn't throw a fight. Car accident. Bad breaks. Mike's fists clenched. How long has this been happening? 5 years, maybe more. McKnight's just the latest weapon. Before him, it was Danny Morrison. Before Morrison, Pavel. Kirchhoff. She paused. They all end up dead or disappeared once they outlive usefulness. You're saying McKnight's next? Win or lose, Volkov's planning to replace him. We intercepted communications. McKnight's too unstable, too public with his crimes. She leaned forward. Help us put them away. All of them. Mike turned from the window. I'm not a cop. No. You're something better. You're Mike Tyson. When you hurt McKnight, he'll confess. Everything just to make it stop. We'll have agents ringside, recording equipment everywhere. And if he doesn't talk? Cortez gathered her files. Then at least boxing has one less monster. But he'll talk. Men like McKnight always do when their plans meet reality. She left a burner phone. Call when it's done. And Mike, be careful. Volkov has resources you can't imagine. Judges, cops, even federal agents. Trust no one except who you bring yourself. After she left, Mike stared at the photos of injured fighters. Marcus Banks, Jose Mendoza, Deshaun Williams. Kids whose only crime was having honor in a dishonored sport. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know FBI visited. Changes nothing. Break Tyson or be broken. Mike deleted it and went back to studying McKnight's fights. Everyone had a plan until they got punched in the mouth. Volkov's plan was about to meet Iron Mike's fists. The official weigh-in at Madison Square Garden felt like a wake with cameras. Media packed the theater, celebrities filled VIP sections, and tension thick enough to cut hung in the air. This wasn't a sporting event anymore. It was barely controlled violence waiting to explode. McKnight arrived in a white fur coat despite the heat, his entourage carrying his belts like religious artifacts. He stripped down to designer briefs, flexing for cameras. The scale read 242 pounds of chemically enhanced muscle. 242 of destruction, he shouted. Somebody weigh this fossil so we can get to the funeral. Mike entered through the crowd, not the VIP entrance. Fans parted like the Red Sea, hands reaching out to touch a legend. He wore a simple gray hoodie and black shorts. No fanfare, no performance. On the scale, 228 pounds. Lighter than his prime, but the density was visible. Old-school power, forged in gyms without air conditioning, refined in battles before McKnight was born. 228, the official announced. That's it. McKnight laughed. I got 14 pounds on Grandpa. This gonna be easier than I thought. The stare down was next. They met at center stage, McKnight talking immediately. You ready to die, old man? Ready to shit yourself in front of the world? I'ma hit you so hard, your rape victim's gonna feel it. Mike stood silent, eyes locked on McKnight's. The younger fighter kept talking, spittle flying, but something in Mike's stillness was unnerving him. Say something, McKnight demanded. You scared? You shaking? Look at you, you're going to sleep, Mike said quietly. And when you wake up, you'll be wearing handcuffs. McKnight's face contorted. What you say? You heard me. The shove came hard and fast. McKnight put both hands on Mike's chest, trying to drive him backward. Mike didn't move. His legs, thick as bridge supports, absorbed the force like it was nothing. The crowd gasped. McKnight shoved again, harder. Mike was a statue. How? McKnight's voice cracked slightly. Mike leaned in close, his whisper carrying menace from another era. Because I'm not old. I'm experienced. And you're about to learn. The difference. Security swarmed between them. McKnight threw a wild punch that caught air. Mike hadn't moved, hadn't flinched. He'd simply been somewhere else when the punch arrived. In the parking garage afterward, Volkov's limo intercepted McKnight. Get in, Volkov ordered. Inside, the Russian studied McKnight like a specimen. What? Did he whisper? Exactly. McKnight lied. Just typical intimidation. Nothing specific. Volkov's hand moved faster than McKnight expected. The slap rocked him. You lie poorly. My men in the crowd read lips. He knows about the fixed fights. About the boys you crippled. Volkov lit a cigarette. This changes nothing. Tomorrow, you don't just beat him. You cripple him. Use whatever means necessary. The ref is ours. Moretti will let you work. The ringside physician is ours. The judges, if needed, are ours. Volkov's gray eyes were arctic. But it won't. Go to judges. You end him early. Viciously. Am I clear? Crystal. Good. Because if you fail. Volkov pulled out a photo of McKnight's mother. She lives alone in Detroit, yes? Quiet neighborhood. Anything could happen. McKnight's. Blood chilled. You wouldn't. I'm Russian boy. We invented wouldn't. Volkov tapped Ash onto McKnight's shoe. Win ugly. Win dirty. But win. The limo door opened. As McKnight stumbled out, he noticed unmarked sedans throughout the garage. Federal agents, watching, waiting. Tomorrow, everyone would be watching. But only one man would be punching. 11 p.m., the night before war. Mike Tyson's hotel room was Spartan. A bed, a chair, his equipment bag. No distractions from tomorrow's violence. He sat in meditation, visualizing combinations that had served him for 5 decades. Room service knocked. Mike hadn't ordered anything. Not hungry, he called out. Mr. Tyson? It's John Russell. Got someone here needs to speak with you. Mike opened the door. John stood with a young man in a wheelchair, Marcus Banks. Marcus? Mike helped wheel him inside. You should be in the hospital. Discharge myself. Marcus's speech was clearer, though still strained. Needed to see you. Before tomorrow. Your doctors know you're here? Marcus smiled weakly. What they don't know won't hurt them. He pulled out a tablet. Typing. Been watching McKnight's fights. Found something. The video showed McKnight's last 3 bouts, edited together. Marcus had highlighted specific moments. Each time McKnight threw his right hand, he dropped his left completely. But more interesting was his corner between rounds. Watch his trainer, Marcus typed. Right before each accident. Mike leaned in. Before McKnight threw the illegal elbows or headbutts, his trainer made the same gesture, touching his ear, then his elbow. Signal, Mike said. Marcus nodded, typing furiously. But watch this. When McKnight gets hurt, really hurt, he panics. Talks to himself. Third fight back, took a good shot. Listen close. Mike turned up the volume. McKnight, dazed from a right hand, was muttering. Volkov said this would be easy. Said the fix was in. This ain't fixed. This ain't. His corner had silenced him with water and ammonia, but the damage was done. He confesses when he's hurt. Mike observed. Every time. Pain makes him truthful. Marcus grabbed Mike's hand. Make him hurt. Make him tell everyone what he is. Across town, McKnight's penthouse was chaos. Music blared. Women danced. Cocaine flowed like snow. McKnight stood on his balcony, staring at the city lights, mixing steroids. With champagne. You good, champ? Big Roy Stevens asked. I'm perfect. McKnight's pupils were pinpricks. Gonna kill that old man tomorrow. Literally kill him. Darius, that's not. Shut up. McKnight spun, grabbing Roy's throat. You work for me. Everyone works for me. I'm the destroyer. I'm the future. He released Roy, who gasped for air. In McKnight's bedroom, a doctor prepared injections, painkillers, that would numb everything, stimulants that would turn him into a machine. After tomorrow, McKnight told his reflection, I'll be bigger than Ollie. Bigger than Tyson ever was. The man who murdered a legend. 2 a.m. Mike couldn't sleep. He stood at his window, watching Brooklyn sleep. His phone buzzed, a text from Freddie. Can't sleep either. Meet me at the gym? On my way. Gleason's was empty, just fighter and trainer in the temple of violence. They didn't spar or work bags. Just talked. You scared, Mike? Freddie asked. No. Should be, but no. Mike rapped. His hands slowly, ritually. Been here too many times. The night before. The waiting. This feels different. Because it is. Not fighting for belts or money. Fighting for Marcus. For all of them. Mike flexed his fists. Fighting to remind people what boxing used to be. What if McKnight fights dirty? We know he will. Mike smiled. And for a moment, Freddie saw the 20-year-old destroyer who terrorized the heavyweight division. Then he learns what dirty really looks like. Dawn broke over New York. In 12 hours, 2 men would enter a ring. Only one would leave with his soul intact. Madison Square Garden throbbed like a living heart. 20,000 voices merged into primal roar as the preliminary fights ended. The atmosphere was electric, celebrities courtside, boxing legends in VIP sections, and an energy that only comes before violence everyone pretends they don't want to see. In McKnight's dressing room, chaos reigned. Music blasted, 30 people crammed the space, and the champion shadowboxed while his crew filmed everything. He'd already posted 12 Instagram stories, each more unhinged than the last. Look at this power. McKnight screamed at his phone, throwing combinations. Grandpa, about to get his social security revoked. Jerry Watts pushed through the crowd. Tony Moretti just confirmed. He'll let you work inside. Won't break clinches quick. The fix is solid. McKnight grinned. His pupils dilated from whatever cocktail his doctor had injected. Perfect. When I drop him, tell Moretti to count slow. I want the world to see him. Twitching. Down the hall, Mike Tyson's room was a monastery. Just him, Freddie Roach, and John Russell. No music, no cameras. Mike sat perfectly still, hands already wrapped, visualizing violence with the calm of a man who'd lived it. McKnight's putting on a show, Freddie reported. Dancing, screaming. He's high as a kite. Good, Mike said simply. Emotional fighters make mistakes. A knock. Evander Holyfield entered, followed by Lennox Lewis. Two men who'd traded wars with Mike now came as brothers. Couldn't miss this, Evander said. That boy McKnight needs education only you can provide. Lennox nodded. Humble him, Mike. 4. The sport. They embraced. Warriors who'd earned each other's respect through shared blood. The lights dimmed. McKnight's entrance began with pyrotechnics that belonged at a rock concert. Smoke machines, laser lights, rap music that shook the building. He danced down the aisle in a white robe covered in LED lights spelling Destroyer. His entourage carried sparklers like it was New Year's Eve. The crowd was split, younger fans cheered the spectacle while old-school boxing heads shook their heads. McKnight climbed through the ropes, shedding his robe to reveal chrome trunks with R.I.P. Tyson on the waistband. Then silence. The opening notes of Tyson's entrance music, simple, ominous, unchanged since 1986. The crowd erupted in deeper thunder. Mike walked through the tunnel alone. No robe, no theatrics. Black trunks, black shoes, black gloves. The uniform of violence. His face showed nothing, not age, not emotion, just the 1,000-yard stare that had broken men before the first punch. The roar grew deafening. Fans who'd watched him destroy Spinks in 91 seconds, who'd seen him rise from prison, who'd followed his journey from savage to sage and back again. They stood as one, welcoming their warrior home. Even McKnight's music couldn't drown out the chant. Tyson, Tyson, Tyson. Mike climbed through the ropes with the same mechanical precision he'd shown 300 times before. He didn't acknowledge the crowd, didn't look at McKnight. He simply stood in his corner, a statue waiting to come alive. McKnight bounced and pointed, shouting threats drowned by crowd noise. Mike remained still, eyes focused on something beyond the arena. The announcer's voice cut through. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment you've waited for. In her ringside position, dressed as a ring girl, Agent Cortez checked her recording equipment. FBI agents throughout the arena confirmed their positions. In the production truck, every camera was rolling. History was about to be written in blood and truth. Seconds out. Round 1. The bell rang like Judgment Day. McKnight exploded from his corner, bouncing on his toes, hands high. His jab snapped out. Once, twice, 3 times, testing distance. The crowd noise was deafening. Mike moved forward. In his peekaboo stance, gloves high, head moving in that hypnotic rhythm. He looked smaller than McKnight, older, slower. But his eyes never left the younger man's chest, reading intentions before they became actions. McKnight threw a lightning combination, jab, jab, right cross. The punches were fast, technically sound. The first 2 hit Mike's gloves. The right cross landed clean on his eyebrow. First blood, old man. McKnight shouted, pointing at the thin cut that opened. Blood trickled down Mike's face. The crowd gasped. McKnight raised his arms, playing to the cameras, certain this would be easy. Mike kept coming forward. McKnight fired another combination, confident now. His left hand dropped after the right cross, just like Marcus had shown in the video. Mike saw it, filed it away, kept pressing. Come on, Grandpa. Fight back. McKnight taunted, landing another jab. Mike absorbed the shots, studying. Each punch told him something, McKnight's rhythm, his balance, his breathing. The young champion was fast but wasteful, powerful but predictable. McKnight showboated after each landed punch, turning to the crowd, sticking out his tongue. His corner screamed approval. Jerry Watts counted future millions. With 30 seconds left in the round, McKnight loaded up a huge right hand. The punch had knockout written on it. Mike saw it coming like a telegram, slipped outside, but didn't counter. Not yet. You're done. McKnight screamed. Washed up. Can't even throw. The bell rang. McKnight strutted to his corner, arms raised. In his mind, he dominated. Mike walked calmly to his stool, blood painting half his face. "He's fast," Freddie said, working on the cut. "He's scared," Mike replied. "Watch." Round 2 began with McKnight even more confident. He'd cut Mike Tyson, made him bleed. The legend looked every one of his 68 years. McKnight came out, aggressive, throwing power shots. But something had changed. Mike's head movement was sharper now, his feet positioning him at angles McKnight didn't expect. Punches that landed clean in round 1 now hit gloves or air. "Stop running," McKnight complained to referee Tony Moretti, who shrugged. Mike still hadn't thrown a meaningful punch. But McKnight was breathing harder, his combinations less crisp. Frustration crept into his movements. Then it happened. McKnight threw his money punch, jab, jab, right cross. His left hand dropped. Mike's counter left hook arrived like divine punishment. It caught McKnight in the floating ribs, driving into his liver. The champion's eyes bulged. His legs turned to water. He stumbled backward, mouth open in a silent scream. The crowd exploded. After 2 rounds of silence, Iron Mike had announced his presence. McKnight grabbed desperately, clinching. Moretti, as promised, let it go too long. But Mike worked inside, short. Vicious hooks to the body that sounded like baseball bats hitting meat. "Break!" McKnight gasped. Mike stepped back, staring through him. McKnight's legs shook as he retreated, one hand protecting his ribs. The fear was in his eyes now, primal, undeniable. "He's hurt," Freddie shouted from the corner. McKnight tried to recover, throwing wild punches. Mike weaved through them like a ghost, then landed an uppercut that snapped McKnight's head back. Blood erupted from his nose. The bell saved McKnight. He stumbled to his corner, ribs screaming, nose gushing. He broke something. McKnight gasped to his corner. "My ribs." "Shut up," Big Roy Stevens said, pouring ice water over him. "You're winning. Stick to the plan." But there was no plan anymore. There was only survival. Round 3 opened with McKnight fighting desperately. His nose streamed blood, turning his white trunks pink. Each breath sent lightning through his cracked ribs. The cocaine confidence was gone, replaced by something he'd never felt in the ring: terror. He tried to box, using his reach advantage. But Mike had his timing now. Every jab was slipped or parried. Every power shot hit air or arms. And always, Mike kept coming forward. "Hit him," Volkov screamed from ringside. "Hurt him." McKnight threw a wild right hand. Mike ducked under it and delivered a right to the body that folded McKnight in half. The champion dropped to one knee, gasping. Moretti started a slow count, just as planned. But it didn't matter. McKnight was hurt, truly hurt, for the first time in his career. 1, 2. McKnight forced himself up at 6, backing away. Mike stalked him, cutting off the ring with footwork learned before McKnight was born. "You're supposed to be old." McKnight gasped. "You're supposed to be." Mike's jab snapped his head back. Then another, and another. Each shot precise, punishing. McKnight's legs wobbled. In desperation, McKnight started fighting dirty. A thumb raked across Mike's cut, opening it wider. An elbow in the clinch caught Mike's jaw. Moretti saw nothing. But Mike had fought dirty before McKnight knew what boxing was. As they clinched, Mike's forehead accidentally found McKnight's broken nose. The crunch was audible 3 rows back. McKnight screamed, shoving Mike away. His nose was sideways now, blood pouring like a faucet. "My face." "He broke my face." "Box," Moretti ordered, smirking. McKnight was unraveling. Between the pain and the fear, his mind was fracturing. He started talking to himself, loud enough for ringside to hear. "This ain't right." Volkov said it would be easy, said the fix was in. Agent Cortez leaned forward, her equipment recording every word. Mike pressed forward. McKnight threw a desperate hook. Mike slipped inside and landed a perfect shovel hook to the liver. McKnight's body betrayed him. He dropped to both knees, holding his side. 1, 2, 3. McKnight was crying now, tears mixing with blood. His corner screamed for him to get up. Volkov's curses carried over the crowd noise. At 8, McKnight struggled upright. He was done. Everyone could see it. But Moretti let it continue. Mike moved in for the kill, then paused. McKnight was mumbling, delirious from pain. Wasn't supposed to be like this. Marcus was easy. Jose was easy. They all fell down when they were supposed to. The crowd heard it. The cameras caught it. Agent Cortez typed frantically on her phone. The bell rang, saving McKnight from further punishment. He collapsed on his stool, his corner working frantically. In desperation, they slipped brass knuckles into his right glove, working them under the padding. "You gotta drop him," Big Roy hissed. "One shot with these, and he's done." McKnight nodded through blood and tears. His face was a ruin, his body broken, but he still had one punch that could change everything. Round 4. The beginning of the end. McKnight came out with renewed desperation, his right hand loaded with brass knuckles. The glove looked obviously heavier, but Moretti ignored it. McKnight pawed with his jab, looking for the one shot that could save him. Mike noticed the loaded glove immediately. He'd seen every dirty trick in boxing's dark corners. Instead of backing away, he pressed forward, inviting the punch. "Come on!" McKnight screamed through his ruined nose. "Stand still." Mike gave him the opening. McKnight's eyes lit up as he loaded the right hand, putting everything behind it. The punch whistled through the air with knockout written all over it. Mike slipped outside by millimeters. The loaded glove grazed his ear as he simultaneously delivered his signature combination, a left hook to the body that crushed McKnight's already broken ribs, followed by a right uppercut that started from his shoes. Time slowed down. The uppercut caught McKnight flush on the chin. His mouthpiece flew into the third row. His eyes rolled back, showing only whites. For a moment, he stood frozen, suspended between consciousness and darkness. Then Darius, the destroyer, McKnight crashed to the canvas like a demolished building. His head bounced off the mat. His body twitched once, then went still. The arena exploded in sound that shook the foundation. Moretti started counting, but it was theater. McKnight was gone, not just knocked out, but transported to another dimension. Medical staff rushed into the ring as Mike stood over him, the old victory pose automatic after all these years. As oxygen was administered, McKnight began mumbling in his delirium. The ring microphones picked up every word. "Volkov made me. The metal strips. He said break them all. Marcus was supposed to die. All of them were supposed to die. The judge is paid. Moretti's paid. Everyone's paid." His confession poured out in semi-conscious rambling. Names, dates, fixed fights. Every crime spilled from his scrambled brain as medics worked on him. Did it just like Volkov said. Ended their careers. Laughed about it. 3 weren't enough. Needed more examples. Agent Cortez was already on her phone. FBI agents throughout the arena moved toward their targets. In his ringside seat, Viktor Volkov stood to leave, but found his path blocked by federal badges. "Going somewhere, Mr. Volkov?" Cortez asked, her ring girl outfit incongruous with her. "Federal authority." Volkov tried to run. He made it 3 steps before Mike Tyson blocked his path. "Remember what I told your boys?" Mike asked. "Said I'd see you after I was done with your boy." Volkov pulled a knife, desperate. The crowd screamed. Mike's hand moved faster than his age should allow, disarming Volkov with a technique learned in prison. The knife clattered away as Mike held Volkov for the agents. "Viktor Volkov, you're under arrest for racketeering, sports, bribery, conspiracy." As handcuffs clicked on Volkov's wrists, McKnight was being stretchered out, still confessing to crimes. His jaw was clearly broken, hanging at an unnatural angle. He'd need surgery to ever speak clearly again, but his current words were clear enough for conviction. Mike climbed back into the ring and took the microphone. The crowd fell silent. "Everybody thinks they're a warrior until they meet a real one," he said in his distinctive voice. "To all the young fighters out there, boxing is about honor, discipline, respect. Anyone who tells you different is selling you a lie." He looked directly at Volkov being led away in handcuffs. "And to those who prey on fighters, your time is over." The crowd erupted in the loudest ovation Madison Square Garden had ever heard. 20,000 voices united in recognition of justice delivered by fists that never forgot their purpose. McKnight came out wild in round 4, desperation. Thick in the air. Rabbit punches, elbows, low blows, anything to stay afloat. The referee, Tony Moretti, watched without interest. McKnight hammered Mike's kidneys, held and hid in the clinch, and raked the reopened cut above Mike's eye. Mike absorbed it, all silent and calm. Every dirty move reminded him of prison fights, of survival in darkness. He kept his defense tight, his counters patient. He wasn't here just to win. He was here to expose. McKnight's taunts turned frantic, his punches sloppier. The loaded glove weighed his arm down like guilt. He swung wildly, missed. Mike grinned. He was waiting for the moment. A crack in rhythm, a tell in McKnight's breath. Freddie Roach leaned over the ropes. "Anytime now, Mike." Mike nodded once. "He's already beat. Just don't know it yet." The crowd grew restless, sensing something. McKnight stumbled forward, tried a headlock punch. Mike shrugged it off like lint. The old man was still in there, just beneath the blood, beneath the decades, ready. And McKnight? He was running out of tricks, and the truth was about to hit. Harder than any glove ever could. Between rounds, Big Roy slipped brass knuckles into McKnight's right glove. The champion's face was pulp, but his eyes lit up, his final card. Round 5 began. McKnight lunged in with his loaded fist, aiming for Tyson's temple. The crowd gasped. Mike slipped just enough, letting the punch graze his ear. It was a trap. Then Tyson struck. A left hook buried deep into McKnight's body, same spot he'd broken earlier. The champion screamed mid-breath. As he crumpled, Mike followed with a right uppercut launched from hell. It caught McKnight flush on the chin. The younger man rose off the canvas before gravity remembered him. His mouthguard flew. His eyes rolled. Time stopped. Then McKnight hit the floor like a felled tree, unconscious before he landed. The arena exploded, fans rising as one. Freddie Roach shouted, "That's it," over the roar. Moretti counted. Slowly, 5, 6, 7, but it didn't matter. McKnight didn't stir. Mike stood in his corner, breathing heavy, eyes still locked on the fallen man. That was the punch he'd waited years to throw. Not just for victory, but for vindication. Justice had a sound tonight, and it echoed in Madison Square Garden. Medical staff swarmed the ring as McKnight lay twitching on the mat. Oxygen mask on, eyes glassy, his mouth moved. Volkov, made me, metal strips in the wraps. Marcus was supposed to die. All of them. His words tumbled out, confession laced with blood and delirium. The microphone caught it all. Agent Cortez nodded, watching her audio feed spike. Jose went down. Took the dive. Judge was paid. Moretti, too. Said I'd be champ forever. FBI agents closed in. Cortez signaled, her voice steady. "We've got everything." Confirmed. Freddie Roach, stunned, looked at Mike. He just gave it all up. Mike didn't smile. Just stared down at McKnight as he was stretchered out, mouth wired shut from a shattered jaw, soul broken from something deeper. "He hurt kids," Mike said flatly. "That's what broke him. Not me." The garden crowd, unsure of what they'd witnessed, began to murmur. Then cheer. A storm of noise rose around Tyson, not for a win, but for what it meant. McKnight's fall wasn't just physical. It was moral, public, final. And Mike Tyson had just knocked the truth into the light. Volkov tried to flee. He made it halfway to the tunnel before 3 FBI agents blocked his path. He spun, panicked, and ran straight into Mike Tyson. Mike grabbed his coat collar. Going somewhere. Volkov's hand went to a knife. The crowd screamed. But Mike's fist moved faster, disarming him, twisting the wrist, dropping the weapon to the floor. "Let me go," Volkov spat. "Say that to Marcus," Mike growled. Handcuffs clicked. "Victor Volkov, you're under arrest for racketeering. Sports bribery." The crowd roared louder than any bell. McKnight was long gone, stretchered into the ambulance, still mumbling about fixed fights and broken promises. Tyson climbed back into the ring, raised a hand for silence. "Everybody thinks they're a warrior until they meet a real one," he said into the mic. "Respect your elders. We survived wars you can't imagine." The arena exploded again. It wasn't just a victory, it was a reckoning. Boxing had been dirty. Tonight, it got washed in blood, sweat, and truth. And Mike Tyson stood in the middle of it all, battered, righteous, unshaken. 6 months later, in a small rehab center outside Newark, Marcus Banks took his first steps. Willie Banks wept silently as he filmed it, the boy's legs shaky but determined. The charity fight had funded the best therapy in the country, and now, miracles were happening. A knock at the door. Mike Tyson stood there, a quiet presence holding a pair of red training gloves. "For when he's ready," Mike said. Willie took them with trembling hands. "You didn't just give him a future. You gave us peace." Mike looked at Marcus. "The belt's just leather and gold," he said. "Real champions fight for something bigger." He stayed for an hour, then walked out quietly. No entourage, no camera crews, just a man who'd fought his past and won. Down the sidewalk, under the sunset's glow, Iron Mike walked alone. But this time, his legacy walked with him. If you like the story, please watch another story on our channel and subscribe to the channel.